warehouse, 4 ghouls, a lich coming, and only 3 fiends, with no more in production. No more fiends in production. So you're wondering, what the hell is he doing? I'm wondering what he's doing at this point if I'm an orc player. It's, with when you go fiends, usually you're going fiends because you want an army. Whereas when you're going ghouls, normally you want, destros, or maybe you'll mix in ghoul fiend. That's one option. But at the very least, in both circumstances, you're getting an army out of the units that you're going. In this case, he's got 3 fiends. He's not building more. So what's the point of his, how is he going to take the orc army right now? Truthfully, he can't. And you'll see the orcs, from the cookie cutting orc perspective, this orc's doing really well. He's kept the Death Knight to level 1. His Torn Chieftain's heading to level 2. He's contained the orc player. He's got map control. If I'm the orc player right now, I'm thinking great, I'm about to beat physics. I'm doing well. Notice physics has got that shade out. The first thing he checked was the expansion, because he's been playing so passively that it's entirely possible that the orcs expanded on him. And it wouldn't have even been a bad idea for the orc to straight expand versus this, because really this undead army is useless right now. But now he follows the Torn Chieftain with the shade. Really, really, I can't stress enough how important this shade is going to be for physics in this game. And I really, really recommend to all undead players, if you're going fiends especially, get a shade. Even if you don't intend to go worms later on, this shade helps so much, because the orc player, in his tier 2 dominance, he's always trying to pick fights with you, with ensnare and forcing you to lose fiends at tier 2. And if you can avoid the orc's army at tier 2 and go into tier 3 with minimal losses, you're doing pretty well, because tier 3 is when the advantage starts to shift to you a lot. People underestimate that, because destros, you'll get Verns, or you'll get Raider, Kodo, Headhunter. Those aren't good counters to destros. They're kind of makeshift counters, and they kind of depend on how well you do during tier 2. So preparedness from the orc is really important when the undead is doing a straight tech strat like physics is doing. His expansion's going up. Again, he's playing, incredibly cookie cutter right now. This is exactly what I would recommend you to do if you were playing versus a standard teching, 2 fiend tech undead player who's probably planning on Lich, Frost Armor pushing you. This is pretty much perfect play from the orc player. Since he's not playing against that, he doesn't realize it, but he's probably already lost this game. I'm not even kidding. 36 food of physics versus 50 food of the orc. You'd think oh my god, he has no chance. Physics has no chance. In reality, he's winning. And I'll explain that in a second. Sorry. Notice, first of all, the Blade Master was following the Death Knight, and then he tried to move his raiders and his Torn Chieftain and his army to where the undead was supposed to be, where the undead was heading. But because physics had a shade on him, he knew he was about to get jacked, and he head back to his base. Big advice for the undead: if you have to fight during tier 2, try to fight in your base. Try to fight in your base, unless you're doing a serious fiend push. Here you see the orc player gets 1 ensnare off, but then the nuke kills the raider. So far he's killed nothing, he's accomplished nothing, and he's lost a raider. Now he's fighting on Blight, and he's fighting versus the Black Citadel tower. And you're going to see this is, he needs to be aggressive right now, because if you look a little lower, there's a Frostworm at 50%. But really, what can he do? He's killed a statue, he's killed a fiend, and for that statue and for that fiend, he's going to lose. He's already lost a raider, he's going to lose that grunt. He's probably going to lose this Kodo. I mean, even though the armies are completely imbalanced right now in favor of the orc can't fight this battle. He can't. Also notice, okay, so I said the Kodo is going to die. It dies. It dies because physics manually targets the Kodo with his Black Citadel tower. That's something you've got to learn to do as undead. I mean, so many undeads, if I have Farseer, they'll target wolves, they'll target a full health raider, they'll target a hero, which is often a waste unless it's the Blade Master. Anyways, the worm comes out, and all of a sudden, I do not agree, has a heart attack, because he realizes that his entire early game has probably just gone to hell. Drawing attention to the worm, 1350 HP, 5 armor. Physics has upgraded armor twice during his tech. so you can tell what he's been spending his wood on. He's got 830 wood. He knows that the orc's expanded, and he knows it's not, the expansion's barely been up, because he's had a shade there. So you're looking at the expansion right now, 9,820 gold out of 10,000 gold. The expansion is not even paid itself, and it's already being attacked. And army sizes are 44 versus 47, so they're still pretty close, and orc wastes a bat. The problem with being surprised like this as orc is that bats are kind of your own at this point, and even then they're really not an option. As you can see, he just wasted 3 bats and did not even kill a worm. That's enough gold to buy a worm right there. It didn't even kill it. And for some reason, he doesn't have enough mana. He should be coiling this worm again pretty soon. And now you notice Frost Armor is also on the worm. That strategy. Beef up the armor of the Frost Worm and make it pretty much unkillable. So another 2 bats go out, and they actually kill this worm, because for some reason physics offensive coiled, which is, I don't agree with that. But anyway, expansion's down. No more gold income from the expansion. It actually operated a loss, and it didn't even pay for itself, and for the peasants that were in it. He killed the Blade Master, so all the gold that he might have gotten, he now has to spend on the Tavern Hero. Looking back to the orc's base, again, the only thing he can do right now is bats. And you're gonna say, like, what about Verns? You cannot get enough Verns to kill that one worm. They're 4 expensive. His expansion's down. If you look at his, he plays cookie cutter. His food, he's 35, and the reason he's 35 for 80 is that he was banking, or he's planning on banking. You notice he has 6 burrows. That's a lot of wasted gold in burrows. And his plan was just to get map control at tier 2, bank up, and then mass Wyvern. I guarantee that's kind of the standard orc cookie cutter. And if you're orc and you're playing against a good fiend build, then what this orc did would have been great. But this is where physics strategy and his intelligence come by. Anyways, magic damage just destroys these creeps, which is like the reason he's hitting. He's also waiting for this second worm to come out before he attacks. Unfortunately for the orc, the worm was ensnared, so a bat gets webbed before it can detonate. So the other bat detonates, but you'll notice that's just no damage. Roar Scroll on the worms is just, there's no chance for the orc at this point, and that's good game. So an overview. Understand, because I'm going to get some angry PMs from undead players who try this strategy on ladder and lose horribly. It's not a strong strategy in itself. I kind of relate it to what I was showing you guys in the Orc vs. Human games, where the Orc went Mass Raider and was playing very aggressive, and then banked food and got the walkers later on, and ended up with 70 food versus 50 food. Like, it's just messing with timing and strategy, and the other players kind of cookie cutting, and the other players like goals, and if they can't adapt. And that's what this orc failed to do. He failed to adapt to physics' tech. I mean, the fact that he got a Kodo, there were three fiends the whole game. You don't need Kodo versus 3 fiends. Kodos come out when there's 6+ fiends. Then you need the Kodos. Until then, you can grunt raid is pretty much fine for you. So that Kodo was a complete waste of gold. It died uselessly, as you saw. Didn't accomplish anything. The fact that he put that Worm Mill up, I mean, all that gold could have been spent on earlier Verns, and what could physics have done versus faster Verns with 3 fiends? Absolutely nothing. So am I saying the strategy is bad? Not at all. He won the game, right? It takes not only the micro that physics has to play it, but it also takes kind of an understanding of when you can fight, when you can't fight. Taking the creeps as you can. Getting what creeps you can. Not forcing fights. You notice he knew the expansion was going up, and he never did anything to stop it until he had the worms. There's patience in this strategy too. A good base build, keeping the bone, is it bone pit, bone pit, whatever the worm building is, keeping that in the back of your base so that hopefully the orc doesn't see it until it's too late. All these little things. The higher level frost armor, pretty key. +3 armor, plus the armor upgrades. That's a huge armor bonus. Basically, the whole crux of this strategy is to force the orc player to go bats, which you can then cancel out with heal scrolls, with scrolls of protection, with coil, with frost armor. I mean, it's limitless what you can do. So again, don't make that your normal build versus orc, because you're gonna versus orc, because you'll run into trouble. But